Have you ever noticed that right when you are finally doing better, it suddenly gets harder? Like your brain turns the volume up and tries to drag you back into the old habit? That is not you failing. That is a real psychological phenomenon called extinction burst. And it's the reason so many people relapse right when they are closest to a breakthrough. There is a clear formula to identity shift and transform out of self-sabotage and into self-awareness. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how. If you've ever had a couple clean days where you ate really well, you slept really good, you stayed off your phone late at night, you worked out, you journaled, and you had this sweet little moment where you thought, wow, maybe I'm finally becoming the kind of person who follows through, and then day 3 or day 4 shows up with a spike of anxiety, cravings, procrastination, and the sudden urge to do something that makes you absolutely crazy and makes no sense for the version of you that you say you want to become, then you already know what I'm talking about. And what makes this especially maddening is that it always shows up right when you start to feel proud of yourself. Like your brain is basically a toddler who just saw you put boundaries on the cookie jar and immediately decides to audition for the Cirque du Soleil. The reason I'm starting here is because most people interpret this spike as proof that something is wrong with them, like they're broken. So they either shame themselves or they run back to the habit or they buy another program that promises transformation without discomfort, a quick fix, which is kind of like trying to get a six-pack by watching someone else do sit-ups on Instagram. And none of this is necessary once you understand what is actually happening. So let me say something that might feel spicy, but I also want to say it with love and straight-faced so you can actually hear it. A lot of the self-help industry, the identity transformation, personal development complex, is built on a business model that depends on you believing something is fundamentally wrong with you, that you're broken. Because if you believe you're defective and broken, then you'll keep buying fixes, you'll keep outsourcing your intuition, and you'll keep looking for the next person who sounds confident enough to tell you what to do, usually while holding a microphone and staring into a ring light like it's the Son of God Ra. I'm not saying every teacher is doing this on purpose, but I know a lot of people mean well. What I'm saying is that when incentives are there to keep you a customer forever, healing can quietly turn into a dependency with really pretty branding and better lighting, which is not liberation, y'all. This is basically emotional cable television because you keep paying, you keep watching, and the cliffhanger never ends. So today in this video, we're going to do something different. We're going to use psychology, emotional inventory, and embodied awareness to help you see the pattern underneath the self-sabotage. Because once you can see it clearly, you can change it without needing to bully yourself or force yourself into compliance. Like some drill sergeant. You are not a drill sergeant, you're a human being. Here's what self-sabotage actually is. Self-sabotage is not laziness. It is not weakness, and it's definitely not a personality flaw you inherited like your uncle's receding hairline, or the family tradition of pretending that emotional avoidance is love language. Self-sabotage is usually a protective strategy, which means it's there as a part of you that's trying to keep you safe. It has a role, but it's using an old method that used to work, even if now it's costing you everything that you say you desire. That is why it feels so confusing, because you're not trying to ruin your life, you're just trying to learn how to regulate yourself. It's the part of you that chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom, because familiar pain is predictable. You've seen it before, and predictability feels safe, even when it's quietly destroying your confidence, your body, your relationships, honestly, your ability to trust yourself. So the real question is not what is wrong with me? Am I broken? The higher level question is, what is this pattern trying to protect? And what does it believe would change if I actually changed? Because most self-sabotage is a safety strategy, dressed up with a little jacket called a bad habit. There is a real psychological phenomenon behind this, and once you understand it, you can't unsee it. It's going to explain so much of your life that might actually annoy you that nobody told you sooner, like the moment you realize you've been paying for extended warranty on a toaster. It'll be a moment like that. It's called extinction burst, and here's what it means in simple terms. When your brain stops getting the reward it expects from a habit, it often temporarily turns that habit volume way up, not down, because it's doing a last-ditch attempt to get the old reward stimulus back before the new pattern fades. This is a normal part of rewiring, and it's the moment where most people freaking panic because they interpret the intensity of the emotion or the mental signal as proof that they're somehow failing. Then they go back to the habit, And the brain learns, perfect. If I push hard enough, I get what I want, which means the loop gets reinforced. And then you wonder why the next time it feels even louder, like your brain upgraded from a gentle nudge to a full-on marching band with a horn of addiction or depression or anxiety playing in your ear. The extinction burst concept comes from apparent conditioning. And the classical example is a lab rat pressing a lever. Press the lever, get the food. Press the lever, get more food. And the rat learns to not sit down, to just press the lever harder, 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 and more desperately because it's trying to force the old reality back into existence. Stimulus and response. So that escalation is the extinction burst. When you translate it into human life, you and I are not rats, but we function very similar at times. It looks like cravings to us getting louder, procrastination getting super heavy, and your inner critic getting nastier. The self-narrative, when you're in this surge, the urge to quit showing right up when you're closest to a breakthrough is really loud because it feels personal, but it's actually very predictable. And yes, comparing ourselves to lab rats sounds a little bit offensive, but if you have ever watched yourself open an app you swore you were done with while telling yourself, I'm just checking one thing, you already know we're not as evolved as we like to pretend to be at dinner parties. So you finally decide you're done with people pleasing, you're done numbing out, you're done with overspending and pornography and sexualization and distraction and procrastination. You've decided you're done staying in the relationship that makes you small, and you're done checking out of your life with scrolling and sugar and overwork. And after a few days, you feel really empowered. And then suddenly you feel super worse. And you start asking, why is this happening now? I thought I was finally doing it. This is exactly the moment the extinction burst shows up. It's not proof you're failing. It's not proof that you're broken. It's often proof you're finally interrupting the loop. That's why it feels so hard. Because patterns do not like being fired. And they will absolutely show up with a resignation letter and a lawsuit and 3 emotional support snacks. They will fight you. Your brain will fight you. And by the way, this is why morning routine culture is both hilarious and slightly dangerous, because it sells this idea that if you just wake up at 4:17 a.m., drink chlorophyll, stare at the sunrise, do breath work, cold plunge journal, meditate, read the Stoics, and then eat elk meat in silence, you'll never self-sabotage again. I'm not hating on anyone who loves a good routine. I love a good routine too. But if your peace depends on a 15-step checklist in the morning, you don't have peace. You have a very fragile system with great branding. And the moment life punches you in the mouth, the whole routine collapses like a lawn chair. Real transformation is not about having a perfect morning routine. It's about what you do when your brain starts pressing the lever like the rat did even harder. This is why we're talking about the extinction burst and self-sabotage in this episode. So I want to make this personal for a moment because I have lived this in ways that were humbling, and honestly, it's part of why I do the work I do. I have been there times in my life where I had momentum, where I was doing the practices, I felt super clear. I was about to do something that mattered, something that required me to be seen and to be honest and to take a risk. And right before I would take that step in the beginning of my podcast journey, I would feel this very specific wave in my body, like an elephant on my chest, my jaw would clench, my hands would get kind of wormy, my brain would start offering the oldest deal in the book to me, which is basically, hey Josh, why don't we do something comfortable and look at a screen and use pornography instead of something courageous like share your truth? And I mean, literally, my brain would tell me anything that prevented me from being truly seen and being honest. So I would distract myself. I would start doing busy work, or I would clean the house or find something to fix that didn't need fixing. I would go down a rabbit hole of research that was very intellectual and very unnecessary, but it was a perfect trap. Nothing says spiritual growth like reading 15 tabs about supplements when you're supposed to be having an honest conversation with your girlfriend or your wife. And when I finally saw that pattern for what it was, which was not my weakness, but it was actually protection, everything began to shift. Because I stopped trying to crush and judge the part of me that was afraid, I started to turn towards it and listen to it. Like, hey, I get you. What are you here to teach me? These are conversations to have with ourself. Hey, lower self, I know you think visibility equals danger, but we are not living in the cave anymore, and nobody is chasing us with spears. It's just a camera. Relax, dude. These are the conversations I would have with myself. Yet this is why the urge gets super intense. Every habit has a reward, even the destructive ones. And that is the part we have to be honest about, because pretending that the habit has no payoff is like pretending that your ex had no good qualities, and everybody knows that's not true, because if they had zero redeeming qualities, you wouldn't have left after the first conversation. It's like emotional eating rewards you with comfort, scrolling rewards you with relief, procrastination rewards you with temporary safety from discomfort, and staying in a toxic dynamic rewards you with familiarity, even though it really hurts. So when you start to remove the reward, your brain escalates the extinction burst, the demand per se, because it is trying to regulate the only way it knows how. And this is why self-sabotage often spikes when you're finally doing really well, because the old pattern is losing its paycheck and it wants to get paid in overtime. It's willing to freaking unionize to get it. Yet this is the reframe that changes everything. This is a reframe I want you to take into your bones, because it is the difference between quitting and graduating, literally moving to identity transformation. This is it. When you interrupt the pattern pushes back. The extinction burst happens. And the fact that it feels harder is often proof that it's really working, not proof that you're failing, because old habits don't die politely. Old habits negotiate. They threaten you, they seduce you, and then if you stay consistent, they start to fade, which is why this moment is not a sign to turn around. It's a sign you're finally walking through the doorway. So now that you have the mental, let's go into the somatic. This is a 60-second guided somatic inventory. I want you to give yourself 60 seconds where you can practice this in real time, where when the wave hits, when you feel that extinction burst, that you're not going to try to think your way out of a body-based pattern. So now soften your jaw, let your shoulders drop, place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and take a slow breath in through your nose. Take a longer exhale out of your mouth. Close your eyes. Be at peace for a moment. As you exhale, ask yourself, what am I trying to avoid feeling right now? Don't answer with a story. Answer with a sensation. Notice where the sensation lives in your body. What am I trying to not feel right now? Is it in your chest, your throat, your stomach, your jaw, your face? Name it. Name it in simple language, like my jaw feels tight, my face feels hot, my stomach feels queasy. Second question, what is this sensation trying to protect me from? What is this sensation trying to protect me from? Keep breathing. Keep doing the strong inhale and the long audible exhale. Let the answer, what is this sensation trying to protect me from? Let it be honest. Physically write this down. Pause the video, write this down. All right, you're back. Now ask a third question. What would it feel like to be safe while feeling this? What would it feel like to be safe while feeling this emotion? Take one more slow inhale, long exhale, and tell yourself, I can feel this and still choose differently. This breathing practice with these questions is emotional inventory with grace. And if you practice it, your self-sabotage loses its power because you're meeting the need underneath the behavior instead of trying to discipline the behavior like it's a naughty dog that keeps eating the couch or the TV remote. Now that you've got that foundation, let's go over a 5-step formula to get through the extinction burst for good. Now, let me give you this clear formula because we're not just here to understand it, we're here to actually feel it and change it. I'd like you to get results without moving to Bali and start drinking moon water and having a crypto club with a man bun, okay? First, you expect it because if you know the extinction burst is coming, it loses half of its power right away. When this wave hits, you can say, okay, this is the burst and this means I'm close. Second, you ride the wave, which means you stop arguing with the urge and you just observe it. You breathe with it. You breathe in and out of your belly, in and out of your mouth. Because most urges are going to rise, they're going to peak, and they're going to fall as long as you choose to not attach to the peak. Most of the time, the urge is not a command. It's literally just a weather pattern. This is why David Hawkins says that the sun is always shining above the clouds. Third, you replace the reward. Because if stress makes you want to scroll or drink alcohol or be dramatic, you just get to have a new regulation pathway that gives your system relief without costing you your future. And that can be walking, cold plunging, music, prayer, journaling, calling a friend, calling someone safe, or simply breathing in a way that we've practiced now that changes your physiology. And fourth, you make going back annoying, because this is the unsexy part of healing that actually works. It might mean deleting the app. I've deleted Instagram for a whole month. It feels amazing. Removing the junk, blocking the person's number, removing yourself from threads, canceling social media, changing your environment, literally stopping the habit before it starts setting up friction, because willpower is not a strategy. Willpower is finite. Willpower is a temporary state, and your willpower gets tired the same way that your phone battery gets tired, except you can't plug your brain into the wall and say, hold on, babe, I just need 20 minutes on the charger. It doesn't work like that. And lastly, fifth, you get to celebrate the interruption. Because if you felt the tantrum, you interrupted the loop, you were in presence of the extinction burst, even if you did not do it perfectly, you still did it consciously. And consciousness is what builds identity. And identity is what carries you when your motivation disappears. And here is another trap that I want to call out gently, because I have fallen into it too. And I know a lot of good people who are stuck in it. Sometimes healing becomes a personality. Whether you're always processing, always unpacking, always going to a weekend workshop, your 112th ayahuasca journey, you're always learning, always reading, always doing the work. You start wearing your wounds on your shirt like some kind of a VIP pass. And if you're honest, it can become another form of self-sabotage, because it keeps you in motion without asking you to really change. It keeps you talking about your patterns instead of actually living them differently. So at some point, healing stops being a conversation and becomes a choice, where you say to yourself, I am not doing this loop again, not because I hate myself or I'm in massive resistance to my lower self, because I love myself too much to keep betraying my future. Now, here is one other truth that might poke you, but I think it's going to set you free if you let it. A lot of self-help content keeps people stuck because it makes them obsessed with fixing themselves. And it turns healing into another form of performance where you're always working on yourself. You're on this hamster wheel, always improving, always trying to become worthy. This is exhausting, y'all. Healing is not becoming perfect. Healing is becoming honest and then becoming consistent, because consistency is what builds trust with your own soul. And trust is what allows your higher self to actually lead you, not as some concept, but as a true reality. So if you're watching this and you feel that familiar mix of hope and fatigue, like you finally understand what is happening inside you, but you still want a simple map to follow, this is exactly why we created the Self-Liberation Blueprint. The SLB is a 10-day guide that helps you see your pattern very clearly, without shame, without making you dependent on me or anybody else, because the goal is not to follow a guru. The goal is to reclaim your own self-leadership and to have a structure that brings you back to truth when the extinction wave hits. You can join us for free in the Liberated Life Tribe and get your 10-day blueprint at liberatedlife.com. And if you do, you're going to have a clear structure for taking emotional inventory and shifting the belief, thought, feeling, and action, the BTFA loop, that keeps self-sabotage alive. In the SLB, learning about your own BTFA, you can build real change without fighting yourself all the time. If you want more videos like this, where we use neuroscience, spiritual truth, and real emotional somatic practices to get you out of these loops, hit subscribe, because I'm going to keep making this practical, honest, and usable with a little humor, because honestly, playfulness is spiritual warfare against dense energies. If we cannot laugh at our patterns sometimes, allow ourselves to cry, allow ourselves to go, oh my God, this is so hard, I would actually prefer that we just not do it at all. Without playfulness, seriousness becomes a new god. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments, and I want you to keep it real, because the comments tell me what you're actually living. Let me know in the comments if you're in an extinction burst right now, and tell me what habit is trying to pull you back, because I read these comments and I'll make the next video based on what you're actually going through. Make sure you download your Self-Liberation Blueprint, and I'll see you in the tribe over at liberatedlife.com.